Welcome one and all to Umami Manga. I'm Petter, and this is James.
Hello.
And happy Halloween!
Happy Halloween.
On this special episode, we're talking about Tomie, written and illustrated by Junji Ito, and it was published from 1987 to 2000, so over rather a long period of time.
Wild.
For Halloween 3 years ago, we discussed Junji Ito's Uzumaki manga, so I think it's fun to do another one of his works on the podcast here. Now, also for comparison, Uzumaki was published from 1998 to 1999, so a far shorter period of time. But it's interesting that Uzumaki was made during the publication of Tomie, like at the end of it. Like Tomie began serialization 11 years before Uzumaki, but ended a year after Uzumaki was over. So I just think that's kind of interesting that somewhere like among the latter chapters of Tomie, Uzumaki was published.
I could be wrong, but Tomie might be one of those series where he just over time released chapters.
That's my impression as well.
Yeah, it wasn't necessarily even a monthly thing. I mean, it wouldn't make sense for that time period. And I mean, while this is a thick volume, the physical volume that we have, definitely not 1987 to or 89 or whatever to 2000. Like that wouldn't make sense if it was an every month type of a thing.
No. I mean, there's only 20
Right.
chapters or 21 or something like that.
Exactly. So I think it only came out when he had ideas for it, and then eventually I think they decided to compile them all into one volume like this. Because there actually are some chapters that aren't included in this volume that were released after.
Oh, are there really?
Yeah, but I don't know if they're considered separate stories or what, but they do exist, and I did go and find them afterwards. But
Interesting.
we're not going to be talking about that in this discussion, of course. But there are some that were published after this.
Gotcha. This Viz release that I assume you and I have the both physical release.
Yeah.
It's quite thick, and if I'm not mistaken, it was released in 3 volumes in Japan. This set of chapters.
I believe that.
So it's similar to Uzumaki in length, slightly more, but basically similar. But yeah, as you said, like it must have been released very sporadically over the course of the time when it was released.
Yeah.
So pretty interesting in that way. Also, another interesting thing that I found out while I was taking notes for this discussion, according to my anime list, this manga is categorized as shoujo, which I just thought was funny.
That's pretty funny.
Like it's not even josei, it's shoujo. It's like for little girls. And I guess it's because it was published in a shoujo magazine or something potentially. Like I know sometimes they decide the demographic based on the magazine that it was published in. But I'm not enough well versed in that to really know. But yeah, just kind of funny.
Yeah, I wonder. That must be the prevailing factor. But I do think that sometimes, yes, some magazines are specifically, those shonen or shoujo or what have you genres. But I do think sometimes magazines have a plethora of content within them that isn't just quote unquote shoujo or shonen. But that's more of a discussion into Japan's publication practices and how they categorize things.
Right. And like the demographic categories, like they're usually rather silly, I think. Like it's often much more nuanced than just little girls or little boys or older boys. Like
yeah,
one can enjoy whatever, really. Anyway, to be clear to our dear listeners, we're going to be talking about the entire Tomie manga in this discussion, so here's a spoiler warning in case you are listening but haven't read all of Tomie. And we're going to make our way through this discussion by talking about each chapter in chronological order. So unless there's anything else that we want to touch on before that, I guess we go into that.
Yeah, I think ready to go into it.
So the first chapter is called simply Tomie. and it is the introduction to the character Tomie and also to the character Mr. Takagi. And it's where Takagi's whole class chopped Tomie to pieces. And these early chapters don't look quite as good as it does later on. Obviously, makes sense seeing as we talked about the series was made over such a long period of time. But it's still fun to see how Junji Ito kind of improved over the course of the manga.
Yeah, for sure. If you read the afterwards at the end, it talks about how, well, basically his circumstances when writing or submitting this, because it was he submitted it as a well, really in a contest and got an honorable mention for it, and I guess that kind of skyrocketed, maybe not skyrocketed, but started his career as a storyteller.
Yeah.
And I'm sure, from where he started to now, he had a lot of practice, had a lot of guidance, and really nailed down his art style to what we know today.
Yeah.
But yeah, the beginning was rather rough, to say
Yeah.
the least.
For sure. And yeah, like I like how this chapter gives us it definitely doesn't give us everything that we know about Tomia, but it does give us like some of the basics about her character. Like she's a pretty vain and possessive girl who drives men mad and who is persistent and seemingly unkillable.
Mm-hmm.
But of course, yeah, we learn more details about her as the chapters go by. And Mr. Takagi is also introduced here, and in my mind, he's basically just as much of a monster as Tomie. Um, like he's sleeping with his student and ultimately killing her in this chapter. Very not good. I guess we could chop it down to him being under her curse or whatever you want to call it. Um,
Yeah.
but I don't know. It's it's still his actions. I don't know. I don't know how to judge these people that are like affected by Tomie. Obviously, it is supernatural.
It's true. I mean, he starts off well within this chapter being portrayed as a pretty despicable guy, right? I mean, he's sleeping with a student, and he's
Yeah.
even married at the same time,
Mm.
and honestly, it does feel that his initial idea to chop up her body parts was, or let her die, was more so an escape, or for him, an opportunity to escape jail time,
Right.
because
True.
if she's quiet, then he's gonna be scot free. Although the Yamazaki or whatever the other kid,
Yeah.
her boyfriend, I guess, did hear, but regardless, I that did come to across my mind. It's like maybe that was his original plan there. But you bring up the curse aspect and just how men specifically tend to just really want to get violent with her. They get mesmerized by her and then they want to chop her up or
Yeah.
whatever.
That's how it
Whatever
goes.
they do.
But you are right. In this first chapter, the circumstances do seem a bit different. Like she dies initially on accident, kind of. Like, well, it seems that way anyway. And
Uh huh.
then the chopping comes not as a means of killing her, but as a means of disposing of her. So so yeah, I guess you could view it differently compared to like the other cases later on in the manga.
Yeah. This one I had a hard time, or I go back and forth. Is this the origin of Tomie the succubus, or is this just the first case that we have of her where she was already a succubus, already a curse,
Yeah.
or a demon?
I think initially when I read the manga the first time, I probably or I know I did think of it as like, oh, 'cause so this is the origin of her, and then it kind of continues. But as I was making my way, or as I was like getting through the series, and also on my reread, I don't personally think so anymore. I think that was just one of many examples of just how the life of a Tomie goes, kind of. I don't think there is an
Hmm.
origin or a known origin of her
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
personally.
Yeah, I'm with you, and I may even have the same kind of uh mental progression that you had, where when I first read it, I thought maybe that could have been the origin of Tomie, but by the end of the book, you do kind of start to feel like, well, maybe this Tomie creature has just been around forever.
She could have been, yeah.
You know. So with that in mind, I think definitely her, I guess, curse was influencing the mindset of everyone there.
Yeah.
That said, it would make sense why going forward people always want to chop her up. It could be just a homage to that initial moment. But what doesn't make sense to me, if this was the origin, is how she fell off the thing. They said she was dead. I guess that could be a mistake. But she seemed to have fallen in a pretty terrible manner, or a pretty deathly manner. So, okay, I feel like she had to been dead. But then she wakes up.
Yeah.
While they're cutting her body, which is a typical Tomie thing to do.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
True.
I guess I go back and forth still, but I think I'm with you that it must be just she's just always, she is this immortal being.
Yeah.
Forever and always.
Probably. By the way, that scene where they were cutting her to pieces and she was waking up during the whole thing, and that whole part was eerily similar to a nightmare I had about 5 years ago.
No way.
And that was long before I'd ever read this manga. It was super similar to, and it was a horrible nightmare, obviously. But yeah, just wanted to mention that. So when I read it the first time and I got to that in the first chapter, I was, wow, that's crazy, because it's literally the worst nightmare I've ever had in my life. And it's basically here in Tomie. And yeah, it's interesting with her, I guess, the gimmicks around her, with not only the way that she acts and things, but also how the effect that she has on others, that in some ways benefit her, but in, I guess, most ways, ultimately, it kills her. The effect that she has on the people around her makes it so that ultimately she's going to be killed. And so, as I was kind of touching on earlier, so with that in mind, it's hard to judge other characters for their actions, because most likely they are under her influence when they do the monstrous things that they are doing. I did have the thought when I read the first chapter, and with I remember before having the knowledge of the rest of the manga, I remember having the thought that, man, I'm kind of seeing almost everybody but Tomie as more of a monster than her.
Yeah.
Just based on the actions that we see played out in the first chapter. Obviously, with hindsight, in hindsight, I can kind of justify it as them being under her curse. But still, Tomie herself isn't that bad, or at least by her actions in the first chapter.
Yeah, it was really just the, infidelity that was the horrible part from her.
Yeah, you're right.
But she also did, apparently, make Takagi go mad, go crazy, along with her boyfriend guy. I forget his name, Yamamoto. But
right.
Yeah, so there is that. But I agree with you. That first chapter makes it feel as though it's the circumstances around her that are, if not just as worse than she is.
Yeah, but for sure.
That's quickly resolved, I think. Going forward.
Yes. Anything else on this first chapter?
I kind of thought when I was first reading it that Reiko would be a reoccurring character.
Right.
She would be the protagonist or the viewpoint for us.
Yeah.
But that obviously was quickly downplayed as you read. I guess I had that thought based off of Uzumaki and how Kirei was the narrator or the viewpoint for the entire story, and I thought maybe we would get the same thing with Tomie here, but Tomie and Reiko here, but that's not what happened.
Yeah, it's very episodic, almost. Well, there's definitely some chapters that kind of flow into each other, but for the most part, each chapter is kind of a standalone little story. So yeah, that was also something that I did not really expect when I went into this the first time.
Yeah, that's it.
All right, then let's talk about Tomie Part 2, Morita Hospital. So here we get to know Yukiko, a patient at a hospital who receives a kidney transplant from Tomie. But of course, Tomie's kidney sprouts limbs and a head inside of Yukiko, and that is all very disturbing. The Tomie that we meet in this story goes by the name of Reiko
I
Mizutani,
know.
which is interesting. I had two ideas as to why. So obviously there is a connection to the first chapter. There's got to be some connection, otherwise her name wouldn't be the same.
Yeah.
I think either this is the same Tomie that we saw growing, that grew out of the previous Tomie's heart, the one that was seen at the beach at the end of the chapter before. Like it just
Mm-hmm.
grew into the body that we see fully here, or Reiko from the first chapter somehow consumed a part of Tomie and thus kind of turned into her, but she kept the
Mm-hmm.
name for whatever reason.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like the way that we see happen to Yukiko in the chapter after this one, where she kind of transforms into a new Tomie. But that maybe Reiko went through a transformation like that. Just a thought.
Yeah. No, I think that's a similar thought I had as well, in terms of what that could mean. One other possibility is that it's more so a reference to the first part,
Mm.
and maybe it's more so this same Tomie just using Reiko's name.
Right, she kind of took over her identity for some reason.
Yeah. Whether it be Reiko's out of the world or she's just in a separate place and she was just using Reiko's name for. Although it doesn't really make sense why she would use um Reiko's name as a means of hiding her Tomie identity. Doesn't seem like people really know who Tomie is in this city, this
Right,
town.
precisely. There's no need for her to like try to disguise herself or anything like that,
Right.
I guess.
I don't know. But she does refer to herself as Tomie after that, right?
I think so, yeah. She
Like,
changes it.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. This chapter I think also like kind of is the first time where it's like firmly established the gimmick of men that get close to Tomie eventually wanting or eventually getting this urge to kill her and cut her up. Like it becomes very clear how that kind of works or how that or that's a thing in this chapter, I feel like.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I think that head coming out of the stomach at the end was truly horrifying. I think it's probably one of the most disturbing things in the volume. I mean, there's a lot of them, but that one was. I mean, just in chapter 2, and it's
Right.
already disturbing.
Right. No, yeah, I agree. It's one of them. It's one of the worst ones. It also looks a little silly, but I think that's something about Junji Ito's horror is well,
Yeah.
it's not always this way, but it tends to sometimes be like horrific, but also kind of goofy at the same time. Um,
Uh huh.
of course there are also parts that are just straight horrific, like for sure, but sometimes they're a little
Yeah.
silly.
There's one chapter in here that is just straight up goofy, man. We'll talk about it when we get there.
I
But
think I know the one, but yeah, we'll get to it.
yeah.
Yep. Anything else on this chapter?
Yeah. More so about someone who's kind of a recurring character, Takagi.
Yeah.
He's at the beginning of this one, and I think he at the end of this one.
Mm,
Yeah, yeah. He's at the end of the chapter because he
yeah.
claims to be
Right.
Tomie's guardian.
Exactly.
So Takagi mentioned, or one of the doctors of Takagi says that he believes she was always inhuman. So this is kind of the first mentioning of her being this immortal, otherworldly, inhuman being.
Yeah.
And I think as as the story goes, it's pretty, or especially as this chapter goes, it's pretty evident that that's the case.
Oh yeah.
Um, went on into chapter 3, and then yeah, him appearing in at the end, kind of makes the beginning of the chapter make sense because as I was reading, I was like, okay, why did we have that?
Mm.
And then he appears. Okay, I guess it makes a little more sense, but you must keep reading.
Exactly.
And that's it for this chapter.
All right, then next let's talk about Basement, which is the next chapter where Yukiko fully becomes a new Tomie. They're comparing Tomie's cells spreading in Yukiko's body to a cancer, and I think that's an excellent comparison.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just how bad Tomie is. She is as bad as cancer.
Worse.
Maybe worse. I mean, cancer is already pretty bad, but yeah, Tomie is also horrible.
She loved the radiation.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, she's very bad. But this chapter kind of puts an end to the first 3 chapters, which in a way were tied together rather closely, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
So this chapter kind of ends the first story of Tomie.
Yep. I agree. Although again, Takagi is still in the picture here. He was hiding in that cupboard closet.
Yes.
For who knows how long. But he's at the end of the chapter. He's staring at the fire that he caused, and the new Tomie walks past him, and I believe that connects it to another arc that's coming up, or a story. I believe.
Interesting. I may have an idea, but let's talk about that when we get there, I guess.
We'll talk about it later, but I think while this arc ends here, these two have more to do later on.
Fun. I look forward to talking about that.
Yeah, but more so about this chapter. I really liked Fumihito. I thought he was a good guy, and one of the few to actually escape Tomie's curse, if not the only one.
There's a few.
I think there was one more.
Very few.
There's one other person who truly escapes the curse. But yes, there are a few.
But yeah, very, very few though.
Yeah. And it's sad because Fumihito, he actually liked Yukiko for who she was. And
yeah.
It was too late though. As soon as they put that kidney in her, she was a goner.
True.
Or at least not going to be herself anymore.
Right. Yeah. He was a very good guy. Definitely glad he got out of it.
Yeah. Hope his appendix is okay.
Yeah. Definitely.
And then this is the first instance, I believe, of Tomie trying to kill another version of her. Of Tomie dominance. There can only be one.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's also interesting how my interpretation of it is that maybe all of the Tomie, if not maybe most of them at the very least, but maybe all have or seem to have kind of an instinctive knowledge that first of all an instinct to automatically hate all the other Tomie and want them dead, but also instinctively knowing that they can only be killed with fire seems to be something that they just know.
Right.
Because
it's very true.
It seems like all of them kind of have that knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
Which is just kind of interesting. Or maybe they've all just been through this so many times that they've learned it through experiencing it. I don't know. Or seeing it or learning it, yeah. I don't know.
That could be true too.
But that piece of knowledge specifically seems to just be universal for all of Tomie, or at least from what I can recall.
Yeah.
Because they all Tomie certainly don't know everything there is to know about their gimmicks. I think that much is clear, and I think I'll get into that in the next chapter in a little bit. But the fire thing, definitely they know about it.
Yeah, and it's kind of back and forth on whether all Tomie have the same memories of each other.
Yeah.
Sometimes they do, then sometimes they don't remember what the other one did or something. It feels like I could be wrong, but
yeah,
I think most of the time they act as the same being. or act with the same memories, but
Hmm.
sometimes it does feel that they don't carry the same memories as each other.
I
But
felt like
anyway.
my understanding was kind of the opposite, is that most of the time they don't, but sometimes they do.
Oh, really?
But but I don't know.
I could be wrong then.
I
But
could
I
also
mean,
be wrong,
I
but
guess my ratio may be off, but my point still stands is that sometimes they do, sometimes they don't.
right. That is true. That all on basement?
Yes.
All right, then let's talk about the chapter called Photo. And this one kicks off another trio of chapters that are closely connected. And it introduces us to Tsukiko Izumisawa, an interesting character, I think, who snaps photos of
Mm-hmm.
boys to sell them expensively to the girls who are crushing on them. Or at least that's how she starts off. Oh yeah, and about like the different Tomies, like either knowing or not knowing about their own powers or gimmicks or curse or whatever you want to call it. Um, Something that the Tomie in this story did not know, seemingly, apparently, was that she would turn out horrific in the photos that were taken of her. Because she was very confidently posing in front of the camera.
Mm-hmm.
And as far as I could tell, she didn't. She was not expecting those photos to turn out the way they did.
Yeah.
So she clearly didn't know that. Later in the story, there are other Tomiya who do know that photos aren't good for them. Uh, but yeah, this one clearly didn't know.
Well, I think that memory was carried to other Tomie
That's
of
true.
this
It
one
could be
name.
that way. I guess I didn't
Mm-hmm.
read it like that, but that's definitely possible. I guess there's also the question like do the chapters depicted in this series take place chronologically, or is it not important? Maybe to some degree it's not really important. I don't
Yeah, to
know.
some degree, I don't think it's important for sure. But there is a later chapter that has a cell phone, and these earlier chapters definitely did not have cell phones. So there are
Ah.
some technology, I guess, developments that occur. But at the same
True.
time, I do agree with you that I think it's just this generic time frame and not
Mm.
something that's really meant to be paid attention to chronologically.
Yeah.
Uh, Mostly because at least I believe that we don't even know the origin of the thing. There's really no start of Tomie.
Right.
It's just the first chapter.
Yeah, and speaking of like a potential start or origin of Tomiya, the Tomiya in this chapter says that her last name is Kawakami, and she also claims to have been born in France and also has had spent time living in Spain. Of course, we don't know how reliable that information is. Tomiya has been known to lie. um, like she can do that easily if she wants to. But it's still worth, I guess, discussing briefly. I suppose. Um, it is also, though, I guess that's another thing against the reliability of this is that this set of chapters starts off with Tomie arriving at the mansion and she kind of infiltrates that family. So it's very possible, I think, that the Kawakami name was just that family's name and she just took that last name,
Yeah,
potentially.
that was my thinking, and it would explain how she was able to get into school that way.
Right.
But I do agree with you that I thought it was interesting that she mentioned that she had been to France, and it could have been just her talking crap or just trying to butter up Tsukiko, but it was interesting to think about. Um, and I don't know where the term succubus comes from. I don't know if it's really a French thing.
I have no idea what the lore of the succubus creatures. Is she described as a succubus? Not in the series.
No, she's not. It's in the book cover that they say they use the word succubus.
Oh, that yeah, at the back in the blurb. Right, right.
Yeah, yeah. So forgive me for to use that phrase a lot.
No, that's all good. I mean, it is a fair description for her.
Yeah, well, and technically, what a succubus is a little more sexually driven
Probably.
demon than what Tomie is. At least is, but at the same time, they have similarities.
Yeah.
My point being is that France could be it, but I feel that she would have predated France if she had um, been an immortal being. Maybe she ended up in Japan from there, and it would explain how I believe it didn't happen in this arc, but in later chapters she talks about how she has an appetite for um, caviar and foie gras, which
Right.
definitely are fancy French
It's something she
foods.
brings up multiple times, like in different chapters.
Yeah.
It's very funny.
So that could maybe explain that, or just could be a recurring gag that Junji Ito I think would definitely use.
Yeah, right. No, but I didn't actually connect the France thing to those foods, but that is fair. Um, Even though, yeah, I don't know. I'm not trusting her in
No,
this, really.
I think it just adds to her mystery in that way.
Uh-huh. This is also the first chapter where we get to see Tomie multiply without having been cut, which is a gimmick that doesn't occur very often, like at all. It's like most of the time
No.
she multiplies because she's been injured or cut apart. But this is one of the few times when she just spontaneously starts multiplying.
Yeah, that stuff you can't even begin to explain it. It's just I guess part of her monstrosity.
Yeah.
This doesn't quite make sense. I mean, it just adds to the horror aspect of it.
Definitely.
That body getting up at the end was pretty creepy, though. It was a pretty uh,
Right.
freaky way
Ugh.
of ending the chapter.
Yeah, just like a face kind of thing where the neck is.
Right.
Ugh.
I did think the Willy Wonka shirt was funny. Did you notice that
Right. Yeah.
Tsukiko had that?
I saw that.
Wild.
Is that all on this chapter?
Yeah.
Then let's talk about the chapter called Kiss. So yeah, Tomie becoming a bloody carpet monster was certainly creative.
Yeah. Using the plastic under the carpet as the vessel for Tomie. I mean, that's creative.
Right?
Hand it to you. I never would have thought of that.
Yeah. Uh, yeah, and like yeah, I think he does a good job at making it like gross and disturbing.
Yeah. And this time it wasn't really the body part that came to life. It was the blood that
Right.
still became Tomie. Very disturbing.
Right, definitely.
Did you think that Michiko coming into or to visit Tsuchiko was uh, almost a bit uneventful, or like what was the point of that? I kind of felt that way on my second read through, but then you see that she's a person that Tsukiko communicates with, and she said goodbye to
Yeah.
her at the very end of this chapter, I believe,
Right.
when she left. So I think it's fine, but it to me it just kind of felt I don't know, almost random. Like, why are you even here?
Right. Yeah, I guess I didn't think much of it honestly, but
Well, and I think that's the issue is it's not much to think about. It's just kind of filler
yeah.
in
I
a
guess
way.
it did kind of raise the tension a little bit. Like, what if something happens while she's there and like that would be unnecessary or whatever.
Oh, okay.
But
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point.
hmm.
Then something should have happened when she was there.
Right.
I
I
think
mean, yeah, to
that would
really
have
utilize it,
raised the
yeah.
stakes and
Um, or,
yeah.
or we view it as like a Hitchcock thing where like he would often like make scenes where he made the viewer think something would happen and that was the scary thing without actually delivering the scary
Mm,
thing. He was still able to make like a scary vibe. Now I'm not saying this is as good as some of the Hitchcock instances of this, but I guess you could view it
yeah.
as an attempt at that.
Yeah, that's not a bad way of putting it. Yeah. Yeah, that was just me noticing something funny and probably being nitpicky again.
All good. But though this is like yeah, this is just like the middle chapter in this trilogy of chapters, I guess you could say. Um, but it is the last we see of Yamazaki. And
Yeah.
he gets a pretty bad ending here.
So it seems, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what happened with those corporate monster Tomie versions, but I'm sure they got Yamazaki somehow.
Yeah, somehow. Whether he went mad and was haunted by her for the rest of his days
Hmm.
or whatever it was.
Or they ate him up.
Yep, could have been. But that's all on Kiss.
Yeah.
Then let's talk about the final part in this little part. Mansion. In this chapter, Tsukiko is taken to the mansion where this Tomie has been living since the start of this trio of chapters, and she lives there with her mad scientist of a father. Although turns out it's actually Mr. Takagi in disguise.
It's
Um,
always actually it's not always
yeah.
this
I mean,
this
he's
time it is.
probably behind more than we realize.
Maybe.
um,
Maybe.
so yeah, with Mr. Takagi appearing in this trio of chapters, I feel like this trio of chapters is more closely connected to the previous trio of chapters in a way. Um, just thanks to his appearance here. Obviously, Tomie is always Tomie, so basically everything is connected. But yeah, you know.
Hmm. That monster is absolutely abhorrent, and that is another one that is up there as most disturbing things in the volume. Just complete abomination, and it's really tragic too because they were experimenting on
Yeah,
the old man's poor daughter.
yeah. That's so sad.
Ugh,
So sad.
absolutely
Oh, one
horrifying.
of many very sad things.
What what is Takagi's game plan in game? I guess he's just obsessed with Tomie, and not just in the I want to kill her kind of way, but well, now I really want to play around and experiment and just do all sorts of things. Like
Yeah.
I don't know,
I think right. He wants to experiment, and I think he also I think on some level wants to make just a bunch of Tomie.
but why?
The more the better. I don't know.
I guess I thought maybe it could be to make money.
All right.
Maybe that he wanted to gain some value off of that, but I don't know.
True. He does try to sell her parts in a later chapter.
Yeah,
But yeah, we do really witness a lot of terrible fates in this manga. Um, and you mentioned the guy from the previous chunk of chapters. He made it out pretty all right, and I think Tsukiko
Oh
seems to
yeah,
have gotten out of the story
yeah.
safe and alive as well. Um,
Heartbroken, but
which right,
safe and alive.
which I'm very happy for. And like, not only is
Yeah,
she safe and alive, she also, in my as far as I'm concerned, like she grew into a better and more mature person over the course of this. So she really kind of came out of it improved, even.
yeah, absolutely.
Anything else I'll mention?
I just thought that the mansion tease was pretty brilliant, and I like
Yeah,
how we get the full story in this chapter. Um, and these three chapters are relatively long.
right.
Um,
I thought about that
we
too.
obviously are not going into a ton of detail into these because we had so much to cover, but these three chapters have quite a bit going into it, and so to get to that, I guess, explanation of why Tomie was at the mansion or what happened after that um, was nice, and see it come full circle in this little arc here. I'm
Hmm.
sure whether it was published one chapter at a time or all together, I'm sure that these three chapters were meant to be kind of a collection in that way. I mean, obviously they're connected, but I guess my point is
Hmm.
that when it was coming out, this is probably the conclusion of these other two chapters, the conclusion of this story arc or whatever. I'm sure
Yeah,
that's what it was. Like,
precisely. And surely Junji Ito also had in mind what was going to happen. Like when he made the first chapter, he already
yeah,
knew kind of the next two chapters what they were going to be about, which I don't think is the case with the entire series. Obviously,
no,
like a lot of chapters are very standalone and don't rely on any previous chapters other than
right,
just the establishment of Tomiya's character.
Yeah, agreed. And that's it.
Right. Then, speaking of chapters that are kind of standalone, we have our first one here called Revenge. It's the long, cold snow hike. And I don't have too much on this one, but the Hamaguchi guy fell obviously very quickly for Tomie, pretty much right away.
Well, there was someone who fell even quicker. Doi.
Literally fell,
Rip
yeah.
Doi, man.
Rip Doi.
He literally fell off the cliff. One
Yeah,
page or 2 pages and dead.
that was very sad. Rip Doi.
They were like, I forget about him.
No, thank you. I'm glad you mentioned him because I wasn't gonna. um, but yeah, Hamaguchi fell for Tomie right away, while Tanimura did not fall for her for quite some time. He did fall for her, but it took a lot longer. So I just think that's also kind of fun to see the difference in resilience or whatever fortitude, yeah, between different men.
How much of a simp are you?
Exactly. That's the big question.
Her sleeping face it was really creepy in this one. I don't know how anybody could look at that and be like, oh my gosh, she's so attractive.
I thought about that too.
Like, it's kind of purposely made to look creepy. And maybe that's the point, is that she's so bewitching and intoxicating that you can't see the horror in front of you.
Right.
Also, is this the first time we see her eating people? Don't recall her eating anybody else until, I mean, she does later on.
Right.
This is the first time, and I kind of forgot about it in the second read through, and so when I saw her eating, I was like, why is she eating him? When was that a thing? But I think this just establishes from now on, it's like Tomie eats people willingly.
Right. Yeah. Right. She doesn't do it a whole lot, but yeah, she does sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I guess that's all on that chapter.
Yeah.
Then let's talk about the one called Waterfall Basin. So this strange man appears selling Tomie body parts to farmers, and although it's never like spoken outright, I feel like that's got to be Mr. Takagi, right?
He does the laugh, hee or whatever the laugh was, this trademark one, and I think it had to be. No other character in this story does that.
Right.
So I think it had to have been him.
It had to been him based on that and based on just doing what he's doing, and also he looks like him, I think.
And his looks. Yeah.
So yeah, Mr. Takagi is back. And yeah, it seems like he's trying to kind of sell the farmers the dream of having their own little Princess Kaguya, kind of. Except that wouldn't be what it would turn out to be. But yeah, then dumping all those Tomie body parts into the basin caused all the new Tomie bodies to grow and attract all the young men there to drown.
And eat them. And then they just marched away.
Yeah.
Go on.
I thought this chapter had a strange ending.
Yeah.
Possibly the strangest ending of all of the chapters here, maybe. Just the group of Tomie just left the Waterfall Basin and went away. They didn't, like, for one, they didn't cause any trouble, other than having already obviously caused suicides, sure. But like,
right.
When they left, they didn't do anything. And they even, like, left peacefully toward one another. Like, they didn't seem to want to kill each other.
Right.
As well. So, like, I thought it was a strange ending.
Yeah. It felt almost inconsistent.
Yeah.
With the rest of the story. Although there are instances of groups of Tomie developing and not killing each other. Yeah. But still, this one in particular just almost felt like a cicada or like a bug kind of thing where they wait in chrysalis and then they escape and then they go on out into the world wherever their instincts take them.
Exactly.
Yeah, this chapter, while had definitely some creepy imagery and things like that, wasn't one of my favorites. It does seem to be the last time we see Takagi. At least I felt that way. I thought there was gonna be another character that was him. I was like, oh, he's back, but that quickly was resolved or quickly shown to be
Oh,
wrong.
right,
It's like,
right. I
oh,
think I
never
may know
mind.
which one you're talking about.
So yeah, I guess Takagi is just gone. He's like, darn it, that was my last chance. Shucks, and then just leaves.
Yeah. Strange.
I mean, it's not like I liked him or anything, or thought he really brought anything worthwhile to the story.
Yeah, yeah.
We're just like, you again?
I think he was becoming kind of just funny.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it was funny to see how he would come back to the story. Oh, by the
Mm.
way, going back to the Tsukiko arc where they took over the mansion.
Yeah.
I forgot to mention that at the end of the hospital chapter or arc,
Right, right.
Tomie, and Takagi see each other, and you can see that when they go to the mansion in that final chapter, it's a similar circumstance. Like it's clear that it didn't take too long from that point to them getting at the mansion. So to me, it feels like that's how it connects to what happened after that.
Oh, I see.
Um, I think they're even. I think Tomie. I think they might be both still wearing the same things.
But didn't the Tomie at the end of the hospital arc have short hair?
Yeah, I think you're right. That they maybe some time had passed then.
Hmm. Yeah, I don't know.
Maybe they had been doing stuff in between.
It's not a connection that I made, but it's possible.
It could be just that this is one of their hijinks that they've been doing and they got caught this time. Maybe
Right.
I don't know.
Could be, could be.
Although I will say Takagi hasn't really aged that much throughout the story until this final part. You know that he kind of just remained a middle-aged man.
Yeah.
Anyway, just wanted to bring that up since now Takagi is going to be gone from the story.
Fair. Right. But yeah, that's all on the Waterfall Basin.
Yeah.
Then let's move on to the chapter called Painter. Tomie in this chapter weasels her way to becoming the new model for Mitsuo Mori, the painter. And I think this is an experienced Tomie. She knows about, like, she's been through the been cutting to pieces thing before. I think she even mentioned, and she knew about the photographs turning, or well, showing her monstrous side. Now, as you said earlier, it's possible that she learned it through the previous chapter where another Tomie went through that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's definitely a good possibility. But since I never made that, or since I didn't make that exact connection before, I'm still mentioning it as potentially this Tomie just having been through that before, like just being more experienced. Potentially.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe. I still feel like there has to be some lessons learned or some memory that's coming forward here with this Tomie. But I'm not going to, pound the table and say that has to be what it is,
No, no, I get you.
Just
Yeah.
just the vibe. I think her vice, as the stories are teaching us, is that her true reflection and how she perceives herself versus how she truly is.
Mm.
And you could argue that maybe the way that we, the reader, are perceiving her in her interactions with people is actually deception, and how people see her as deception.
Yeah.
But in reality, when you take a photograph or, you
Right.
somehow see her true self, you see what's actually there.
Precisely.
I mean, I'm not saying again. I'm not saying that's for sure what's going on, but
No, but
I think that's an interesting interpretation.
definitely. And I think it makes sense.
Well, and for her, it's a complex, really, that she doesn't actually look how she feels or how she wants to be perceived.
Right.
And that, in a lot of ways, is somewhat her downfall. Although she doesn't truly ever fail.
I mean, she gets killed a bunch of times.
Yeah, I sometimes it feels like that's what she's trying to go for. The other times it feels like she
Yeah.
doesn't want that. It's like a back and forth.
It's
what do you really
yeah.
want?
I feel that too.
And that's part of the monstrosity of it. Oh, also being called a monster. She doesn't like that either.
No, she hates that. Yeah, I felt like, by the way, like just stepping away from I guess the plot of this chapter for a bit. Um,
Uh-huh.
I felt like this chapter was where Junji Ito truly found his design for Tomie, like completely. He
Yes.
had been like slowly making his way there throughout the chapters before this, but like I feel like since this chapter, since the painter onward, Tomie has the same look. So it's nice to see how this was where he found that.
Yeah. I agree with you, but I actually didn't point that out until chapter 11, or like the two chapters after that.
Ah,
Is when I wrote it down. But I think you're right. I think it's around that area where it feels like he's nailed his art style, or much clearer on his style and technique, and
hmm,
like you said, really uh, figured out his design for Tomie.
yeah.
Besides just the mole.
Precisely, and I think it makes sense for it to be this chapter because this one deals so much more with her looks,
You're right.
compared to, well, her looks have been crucial before, obviously, as well, but like this one does it
Sure.
a bit more.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. I'm curious how much time had passed between, say, um, the mansion chapter until this point.
Oh, like public, and when they were published,
In
like,
publication. Yeah, yeah, and
yeah, yeah,
when the chapters were published, I could see there being quite a big time gap um, between those publications.
for sure.
Kind of also speaking broadly, she constantly tries to make people, well, particularly men, feel bad that guys cut her up. But I obviously am really not sympathizing at all with it because it's all a curse and all manipulation.
Yeah.
Um, but it reminds me of the manipulation demons use in Free Rent.
Ah.
How they try to toy or use the sympathies that people have, you know, for a mother or father or children or things like that, try to use those connections and exploit
Mm,
it.
yeah.
Um, and yeah, so in that case, I guess the demons in Free Rent world and Tomie the demon herself is
Yeah.
very similar.
I mean, it's really just psychopath behavior.
You're right. That's a great way to put it.
But yeah, but it is also, yeah, a fun comparison to anyone who's read Free Run.
Exactly. Go read it or watch it or
Yes,
whatever you like.
it's excellent.
It's highly recommend.
Yeah.
That's really all I have. I mean, I did like this chapter, but
Mm.
I don't have too much on it.
Yeah, same. Then let's hop on to the next one called Assassins. So here, one Tomie is murdered. She splits into two, and then the two Tomie each make a man try to kill the other Tomie. I feel like this chapter is a little bit of a warm up for the story's last couple of chapters,
Yeah.
like in the manga as a whole. But yeah, the main character of this chapter, the guy, I didn't write down his name, but the main guy anyway of this chapter, he
Tetsuo.
oh yeah, thank you. He ends up getting played by both of the versions of Tomie that are in here. But I find it interesting how, or at least to me, like this is the first clear, at the very least, instance of this mind link between the Tomies. Because
Mm-hmm.
obviously the one that he's sent to kill has memories of the one that sent him to do the killing at the end of the chapter. And I guess this should be a hint toward this type of thing happening in other instances as well. Um,
Yeah.
but I guess I didn't really pay it too much mind other than this very clear instance of it. Um,
Right. I mean, it's pretty blatant that somehow I guess in this chapter, the original Tomie was able to hear and be able to, I guess, process everything that was happening to her growth Tomie.
yes.
Um,
Yeah.
and honestly, this is like one of the few times that Tomie kind of gets her just desserts. At least it's implied so,
Right.
because that Tomie in the bucket was pain in the butt the entire time.
Yes,
Just
she certainly
absolute
was.
jerk.
Uh,
And so I kind of like how the nice Tomie, you know, the one on the nice one on the outside,
uh-huh.
uh, gets the one up over the horrible one. She'll destroy Tetsuo eventually. I have no doubt. Or
For sure.
Tetsuo will cut her up again, or whatever. But it was kind of interesting to see that ending. And I'll say I kind of thought that Tomie in the bucket, especially that last, well, her rising out of the bucket was funny, but then the last panel of her in the bucket, I don't know. It reminds me of like a mascot of like something, I don't know.
Oh.
Like, this is merchandisable. I don't know.
I think it is. Yeah.
It's kind of cute. It's like horror, funny, cute. You know.
Right.
No,
yeah, it is. But I agree with you. Like, especially since the very last panel of the chapter is of the bucket head Tomie, and she's just pissed and kind of like she's sweating. It's funny, and it's like, yeah, it is definitely one of the instances where at least one Tomie ended up kind of on the losing side. So that is fun.
Yeah. Tomie in the bucket.
Yeah.
And then one last thing about this chapter is that she really likes caviar and foie gras. Like, this is
yeah.
the chapter that kind of hammered that in.
Yeah. It is. But that's all on this one?
Yeah.
All right, then let's talk about the chapter called Hair. The new character, Chie, finds a box of mysterious hair in her dad's desk. And I think this is the first time that we see girls get transfixed with Tomie. It doesn't happen too much, but it happens here, and it happens a little bit later on, if I recall. But yeah, obviously, mostly it is men. Somehow, to me, seeing all of the hair on Chie's face, like the first time when we see the hair in someone's face, when it's on Chie's face, she had just attached it there, kind of in desperation. That imagery was surprisingly disturbing to me. And then just like a few pages later, we see like all the hair sprouting out of Miki's face, like even more, like that was even worse, obviously. Yeah, those images were bad.
It was a pretty unique, I assume, death scene for that character, and unique way of utilizing Tomie as a curse.
Definitely.
So I did like this chapter for horror ways, and it does remind me of Uzumaki in that there's a similar hair chapter in that one, although it takes the hair in a different direction. But it goes to show that, I mean, if you didn't already, Junji Ito has a very creative imagination and can take a concept for horror in various ways. Okay, hair. Oh, I could play around with that.
Yeah, right. I thought about that too. It's so funny how, even though it's the same concept, like making horror out of hair, but still making it, so different, as you said. Very clever. And it makes me wonder if Junji Ito has some kind of phobia of hair. Probably not. But
he'd probably be like, "Oh, I hate touching hair on the floor," you know.
Yeah, right. Something like that.
Something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, good chapter. But did you have anything else on it?
No.
Then let's talk about Adopted Daughter. It's a chapter about an old couple with a creepy reputation of having eaten all of their adopted daughters. And then they adopt Tomie. And I don't think the rumors were true until Tomie made them true, in a way.
No, they weren't true.
It's just, Tomie with her cursed ways, she kind of made it happen the way that people were thinking things were already happening.
This is gaslighting the chapter, and it's evil.
Yeah.
This chapter is evil.
It is.
And there are multiple times where I just had to put it down and be like, this is so wrong.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, the final instance where the grandpa kills Tomie was not surprising, because it's like, oh yeah, that just always happens.
Right. We've seen that before.
But everything else between that. So when it was set up that whenever they adopted the daughter, putting the ghost story aside, whenever they adopted a daughter that she would die, I was like, okay, well, someone's poisoning her. And I saw a maid, and I suspected at first, okay, the maid must be doing the poisoning, or Satoko must be doing that. But Junji Ito does a really good job of setting it up so where you begin to doubt that and be like, oh, well, maybe there was nothing going on at all. But then like, surely it can't just be that the old woman was doing the what the rumors were saying. That can't be what it is either. So I don't know. I began to somewhat doubt if I was right at all. But then, sure enough, in her inner monologue, she's like, I used so much poison. It worked on the other girls. Like, aha! I knew it.
Yeah, and she was definitely fishing for that inheritance.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very good how like her character was definitely painted up as a sympathetic person, or at least
Right.
she had me fooled.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's interesting.
And then the hanging that really got me. I was like, oh my gosh, that's where I had to put it down and be like,
Yeah.
It just was very, very depressing. Yeah, a lot of gaslighting in this one, and it was very sad because all they wanted was a daughter. So, in the aspect of tragic horror, I think this is a good chapter in that way.
Yeah, very good. Definitely one of the more memorable chapters, I'd say.
Yeah.
But that's all on that.
Yep.
Then let's talk about Littlefinger, which, speaking of memorable chapters, this one's very memorable to me, or it stuck with me after I read it the first time.
Mm-hmm.
It's the chapter about the youngest of 4 boys, Hiruya Kobayashi. He describes himself as short and ugly and views himself as worthless.
Mm-hmm.
And this is possibly the saddest chapter, in my opinion.
It's really sad.
But because it's like Hiruya pretty much understood what Tomie was about, like from the start. He kind of he knew that that's the woman that like I shouldn't interfere with.
Yeah.
And he does a great job at like not letting her get to him for a long time. But then in the end, obviously, she does get the better of him anyway because Hiruya is just too goddamn compassionate.
Yeah. How dare he?
It's so sad.
Yeah. Yeah. And when at the end when she basically says, "Oh, so this is the kind of type you like," it's like, oh, so frustrating. Like I knew it was coming, but it was just so depressing to see that. It's such a mean-spirited chapter with everything that happens to him from his brothers.
Yeah.
And then Tomie just being relentless on him. A true man who fell from grace, basically. Although he was beaten down the entire time.
Yeah, man.
But
yeah, like I don't know if I have a like specific favorite chapter in Tomie, but this one might be it. Like potentially, I'll have to think about it, but this one's definitely very high up for me.
Yeah, it like you said, it's memorable for sure.
Mm-hmm. But anything else on it?
No.
Then let's talk about Boy, the story of a little boy who got roped in with Tomie. And man, yeah, this one's disturbing in the ways that Tomie wants to like cuddle with this boy and kiss him all the time. That's not fun.
Mm-hmm. Have him call her mother. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Not great.
No.
I kind of hate this chapter. I know it's horror, but it's just so icky.
Yeah.
Because obviously everything that happens, the corruption of the boy, just mentally just disturbing this child who did nothing wrong, was actually seemed to be a sweet kid.
Yeah.
Disturbing it that much. And then the father leaves with Tomie.
Ugh.
Kid becomes a felon and is executed.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
yeah,
I think it fits the horror genre, but it's just disturbing and
awfully tragic,
just horrible, tragic, unjustifiably. So
fair, yeah.
I mean, I think for some people this is probably a really good one. Where ooh, yes, very, very bad, very tragic. But for me, it's just too much. It's just
gotcha.
I can deal with the body horror and everything, but this,
yeah,
nah,
yeah, no, but
that's just messed up.
I see that, and like when like the main kind of victim of the chapter is a child, I think that makes it extra hard automatically. Like just by that.
Yeah. Not that I blame Junji Ito. I mean, well, obviously he wrote it, but it's just,
Yeah.
it's not like I have ill will towards the man or anything.
No.
But definitely not a chapter that I enjoy.
No, it's so sad. But the next chapter is called Moromi. Starts off with minced meat Tomie, which soon becomes sake Tomie. And compared to the two previous chapters, this one wasn't quite as hard hitting.
Oh man, this chapter and the next chapter are the goofiest ones. Probably the goofiest scary stories I've ever read.
I mean, I get this one. I wouldn't lump the next one into that personally. Though I get what you mean, but like this one though, I think is definitely the silliest.
I agree. This one is more silly. Now, granted, this is the guy who did Uzumaki, and well, I find Uzumaki to be a very well written horror. It has some of its goofy horror as well. I mean, that's just who Junji Ito is.
Mm-hmm.
But this chapter is just so out of left field, and honestly, it almost clashes with the vibes of the rest of the book. Not that I completely hate it. No. As I was saying, talk about hate for the previous chapter. It's not so much that I hate it. I actually, I kind of like it because how funny, goofy it is.
Yeah.
But it does kind of seem to come out of nowhere, and it doesn't really follow. I mean, it does in principle have some of the same Tomie plot points to it, but it's just really weird, just really strange, just out of left field.
Right. It doesn't really feel like horror. I don't know. Yeah. It just feels weird.
They are mincing up a body, or they did, and then putting it into a brew, but still, it's everything that happens with it, and
yeah, Tomie moaning through the bubbles in the sake.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I don't know how those bubbles sound, but it sounds moany to me.
Yeah, I don't know how else you would describe the really. It's a weird one.
Sure is. Very well. I guess hopping on to the next one, Babysitter. I guess this one's also pretty silly. It's the one where evil baby Tomie was just love to see all the things that are red. And creepy parents, which probably just fell to the Tomie curse. They may have been just a normal couple before they found the Tomie baby on their doorstep.
I'm sure. Yeah, this one's goofy, or it's unsettling and creepy, and then Tomie starts to talk, and then she demands to do the piggyback ride. That's the goofy part.
That panel is so goofy.
So weird.
Yeah.
She's like, I want to see something red. Well, how about my blood? Nah, I've seen better. My blood's so much better.
Yeah. Well, that part I thought that was actually interesting. How Tomie preferred seeing her own blood over the babysitter's blood. It's almost like deep down she wants to be cut up.
Maybe.
And if you could connect that to the others, obviously the curse makes it so that she will always eventually be cut up. Or her gimmick or whatever.
Yeah.
And I guess at least in this case, it was what she preferred. And I don't know if that could be applied to all Tomies, that they all just actually want to be cut up.
No idea. Kind of just seemed out of left field again to me, but
yeah, no, that's fair.
I mean, there was the theme of red, so I guess it makes sense that in that case that there to be some sort of eruption of blood.
yeah, right. It was only a matter of time. But that's all there?
Yeah.
Then onward to the next chapter, Gathering. So here we have a Tomie who's kind of living her best life. She has a cult of young men who adore her, and she even has like such fancy food that she's grown tired of the expensive stuff that several of the other Tomie would have loved to eat.
Yeah. Yeah, tired of caviar and foie gras. Say it ain't so. I like this chapter for the, I guess, the hero in it.
Yeah.
Umehara is the GOAT. True devotion to his wife.
Yeah.
Never truly wavers.
Mm-hmm.
But unfortunately, he did have a side effect of the curse. At the very end, it seems that his dreams are now corrupted by Tomie. So
Yeah.
it's unfortunate, and maybe it drove into madness eventually. But probably one of my favorite good endings, quote unquote good endings.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. I mean, right. Comparatively good compared to a lot of the other fates. It is comparatively good.
Yeah.
Obviously there were a few that we talked about that did get better endings, but
True.
yeah. And
True.
like I don't know, because the fact that she basically infiltrates his dreams, replacing his dead wife or girlfriend or wife or whatever she was.
Uh-huh.
Does that mean that he's forgetting what she looked like?
Yeah.
Or is it just like I don't know. I don't know. I guess you could read it that way. And if you do, then that's very, very sad.
Yeah. It is. But he's one of the few men to not fall for her charms, really.
True.
You know.
He was strong.
But you're right. In the end, he was cursed.
All right then. Next chapter, Passing Demon. And this chapter kicks off the final trilogy of chapters that close off the manga. A town with 3 different girls, all young variations of Tomie. And once they find out about each other, they go to war.
It's a 3rd grade Tomie turf war.
Exactly. When the boy that one of the Tomies sent to go after another Tomie, when he failed to kill her, I thought it was pretty funny that Tomie's reaction to it was, "Oh poop, he screwed it up." I don't know, just oh poop. Was just like doesn't feel like something Tomie would say. I don't know, but she is a young Tomie, so I guess I can buy it.
Yeah, maybe they were going for oh shucks or something along those lines. I am curious what the Japanese would have been.
Yeah,
I'm sure it was different or something that a younger Tomei would say. But who knows? I like the long game strategy established in this, where we're gonna keep Tomei from dying so she can die of old age.
Yeah,
we're gonna see how it works if it's possible.
Precisely.
More so, it's to spite her and see, ha, you're all old and wrinkly, ha.
Uh-huh.
But I do like the strategy.
Same.
I also thought this is the moment where I thought Takagi was back in the story. The guy in all black with the jacket and hat. I thought, oh, this must be him. I was wrong, to say the least.
Right. I think I had a suspicion like that as well the first time, because it makes sense to suspect it to be him, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, he shares his plan with Yasuko, the sister of one of the Tomies.
Yeah.
And he convinces her to help him with that by protecting her sister, to make sure that she actually does grow old and that she doesn't, because supposedly if they ever do multiply, the aging won't work according to what he knows. So they cannot get like too seriously injured, or else the plan fails. But yeah, anything else on the Passing Demon?
Nope.
Then let's move on to Top Model. We get the backstory for this madman from the previous chapter. His name is Ryo Koizumi, and he used to be a supermodel. And personality-wise, he wasn't all that different from Tomie. Like, it was a similar kind of just being vain and arrogant and whatnot.
Yeah.
And he cut up Tomie's face pretty badly in this chapter, which was another one of the toughest imageries to look at for me.
Yeah. The infected face.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was rough.
It was also I don't know, I hadn't expected a Tomie to be able to even get infected.
Yeah, I didn't expect that either. That was kind of surprising.
Yeah.
She was just a troll to Ryo the entire time. It was pretty funny. Sometimes a little satisfying because he was such a jerk or
Right.
so full of himself.
Uh-huh. I think Ryo did kind of deserve the stuff that happened to him in this chapter. As well, I mean,
Yeah,
because well, I mean, for one, he was very, very entitled and self-absorbed, just as he was. Um, Plus, he did actually burn himself. Like that was his own doing. Like
yeah,
ultimately, the way that actually did the most damage to his appearance was his own doing.
yeah,
That said, I can't help but root for him a bit since obviously he's going after Tomie, and it's
yeah.
it's fun to go after Tomie. It's like petty revenge, but
Right.
it's fun.
Yeah, I mean, man versus, I guess, monster. Sorry, don't me.
No,
Man versus
yeah,
demon.
yeah.
I thought it was interesting that the Tomie that he sees after all that, after he's burned himself and everything,
Mm.
he assumes is a Tomie that's completely different from the one that he knew. So it just happened to be there. So it's kind of, I don't know. I thought that was interesting. Um,
Yeah,
I guess there's no escaping in that sense, but it wasn't even a Tomie that potentially he had cut up or made or anything.
precisely.
I don't know.
I think he also mentions that he had like on his over the years he had stumbled across a couple of different Tomies,
Mm.
which makes you wonder like just how many are there in the world? Like how densely is the world populated with Tomies?
I like how the chapter ends with "Who is Tomie?"
Yeah, right. The second to last chapter, and yeah, I mean it's a fair question. Like even like after
Yeah,
having
yeah,
read the whole thing, who is she really?
yeah.
Well, should we move on to the final chapter?
Let's do it.
Old and Ugly is its name. And here we see Yasuko, the sister of one of the Tomies. She goes above and beyond to protect her sister, even killing their own dad.
E.
And yeah, their mom already was killed in the crossfires.
Yeah, the dad was scum to begin with. Uh,
Yeah.
Obviously, murder is wrong no matter what, but
Hmm.
he was a pretty terrible human being from the get go. Whether influenced by the curse or not, I mean, yeah, I guess he had the kid or um, Tomie was around as a baby for his entire life, but I don't know,
Hmm.
just seemed like a terrible human being. But it was sad to see the mom die like that. It was upsetting.
For sure. But yeah, it is fun. I thought to see how how easily Yasuko was willing to go along with Ryo's plan. Um, like I mean, I guess to be fair, she did feel resentment toward her sister, so I guess there was that. Um, but yeah, she goes through with all of this, all just to be able to see Tomie grow old and ugly. Um, and it's yeah, it's big effort. And in the end, they end up having to seal her inside a solid block of concrete to make sure she wouldn't multiply. And this is maybe the only other instance of like spontaneous multiplication or whatever you want to call it by a Tomie. Other than that first instance, this is probably the only other time when she just does that spontaneously.
Yeah.
But of course, when they eventually break the concrete to see the aged Tomie, she apparently had escaped through a crack a long time ago. So it was all in vain, kind of. Although, in a way, Ryo did kind of get his last laugh since he was hallucinating seeing Tomie sitting there, old and hideous. So I guess in his mind, he was the winner.
Yeah. I guess, could be Tomie still cursing him somehow. But it does kind of feel you feel bad for Yasuko because she went along with this plan the entire time and she gets nothing out of it.
Yeah,
I
man.
wonder if they became a couple. I don't know. She keeps calling him the
They call each other Gramps and Granny when they're old. which was
Yeah,
weird.
which is kind of like a married thing to say
I don't know, maybe.
when you're old people.
Yeah,
But
yeah. Strange
particularly,
situation.
I feel like the Japanese thing where you refer to your spouse as like father or grandfather,
Ah,
at least when you have like children and things like that.
I see. I mean, yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ryo was just so desperate to get his plan through that not only did he hallucinate to see what he wanted to see, but also he hung in there until he was over 100 years old just to see this through.
Wild.
Yeah.
Dedication. Dedication.
Yep.
Uh, do you think the cut that happened on her face, do you think that's the reason why she ended up escaping? Like if that hadn't happened, maybe it could have actually worked.
Right. I did have that thought, and I think we're meant to wonder about that.
Hmm.
I think my first time reading it, I didn't really pay much mind, but on my reread earlier today, I
Yeah.
did definitely think about it, and I got the feeling that it's probably the intention for us to just never fully be able to know if
Yeah.
that injury, like, yeah, if it was serious enough to stop the aging or if it didn't,
Yeah.
because she was away for a month, and yeah, God knows what happened during that month.
uh,
Yeah.
yeah, I thought it was a decent ending to it all. Of
Yeah.
course, like I mentioned in the beginning, there are later, I guess, chapters that do a bunch of or some side story stuff, some collaboration, whatnot. But this is basically the end of the Tomie legend, at least in not. Let me rephrase that. It's not the end as if Tomie is like completely gone, but it's the end of this story, and I don't really see him coming back and creating more chapters unless they're just slight spin-offs here and there.
Right.
I guess they're all kind of spin-offs anyway, but anyway.
Yeah, I guess it's all just spin-offs on the first chapter.
Yeah.
But yeah, yeah. I think it's still fair to view this collection of chapters as a complete work,
Yeah. I agree.
and I think it does feel like, even though obviously most of the chapters are kind of standalone, and if it's not a single chapter, there's like standalone stories that spans over 2 or 3 chapters. Um, that said, the last storyline did feel very much like an ending, and I appreciate it for that.
Yeah.
But anything else on the last chapter?
No, nothing on the last chapter. Nothing more.
Cool. Then, with all that done, I guess let's talk about whatever else we want to say about this manga. I'll say first off that generally, I thought the chapters got better as the story progressed. Like the further we got, kind of.
Hmm.
Not like completely, but like generally. And I think that makes sense since Ito obviously would have become a more skilled storyteller over the many years that he spent making this manga.
Yeah.
So like it's not just the art. I think it's definitely the stories generally got better too.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think it's fair. I do think that some of the previous storylines were maybe creepier and horrifying. I mean, yes, obviously there's a different factors of horror throughout. But I don't know.
Mm,
I thought some of the ideas he had in the beginning were pretty good, or
yeah.
like really good. Some of the high points of it. Um, but yeah, in terms of storytelling and completing a story, I think yeah he improved over time, and like you said, the last 3 chapters were very well done in completing it all and had a good structure to them.
Yeah.
I don't know what my favorite chapter is, to be honest. I thought about it, but I'm not sure. It might be the mansion one with Tsukiko.
Mm. Yeah, that's a good one.
It's probably that one.
Nice. And for me, since I feel like probably since the only chapter that made me feel like wow, I guess, was the Little Finger chapter, I'm gonna have to say that that's my favorite, at least right now.
Yeah. Obviously, I felt a lot for the chapter before that, the
Kiss or the chapter before
no,
Littlefinger?
yours, yeah,
Oh, adopted daughter.
adopted daughter. Obviously, had some strong feelings for that one, but I don't
Yeah.
know. It's not really one that I want to read again. You know, I'm okay with not going back to it.
Fair.
Not because I'm scared of it, but just because it just doesn't make me feel good.
Yeah,
You
no,
know?
no, right. And I think it does its job in that way. Like it's probably the intention to make the reader feel that way.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying it's not doing its job or anything, but I think someone could have that. That could be someone's favorite chapter. Absolutely.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, yeah.
I think overall, I definitely find it spooky with some body horror, obviously, but it's mostly creepy and mean spirited, with a lot of gaslighting, a
Yeah.
lot of ill will and manipulation.
Mm.
It's a different kind of horror than maybe even Uzumaki. I mean, yes,
Yeah,
Junji Ito has a style throughout both, but I feel like Uzumaki deals with maybe more, for the most part, physical horror, whereas Tomie it feels more psychological in a lot of ways.
right. Or kind of almost like emotional horror, if that's a thing.
Emotional. That's a great way of putting it too. Yes, absolutely. And both Uzumaki and Tomie dip into the other ones as well. You know, psychological horror in Uzumaki.
Cosmic horror.
Yeah, yeah. And then obviously Tomie dealt with the body horror, like I mentioned. But I feel like that's how you separate, or at least that's how I separate them in my mind. Is they have different focuses.
For sure, for sure. Yeah, and there are definitely different types of appeal with, as you said, like the different
Yeah,
types of horror. And also, if you want just like shorter stories to digest, then Tomie gives you that. Whereas while Uzumaki isn't super long, it's still one continuous story throughout the whole thing.
yeah,
So if you want something a little longer than Uzumaki, I think is better in that way because it is consistent from beginning to end.
yeah,
That said, I think it's fun to see these different takes on the same character essentially with Tomie. I think there's definitely a charm to that as well.
for sure. And it has a almost sit around the campfire or late at night telling ghost stories
Yeah.
type of vibe to it, where the story changes each time, but it has the same theme. Tomie as a concept is very moldable within the set bounds that Junji Ito has decided, um, and then tell her or tell a story that way. And like we said earlier, it's a kind of a monster of the week versus an overarching story.
Right.
I tend to prefer an overarching story, even in a horror thing. I think that the ending can be a little more satisfying that way. Well, bits and pieces can be more satisfying as a whole as well.
Hmm.
But I do appreciate the more close ended. Well, they're all a lot of them open ended. I guess what I'm trying to say, I don't mind the short spurts of stories that are in here as well.
Right.
Even if the stories do get maybe a little repetitive because it does deal with a lot of Tomie seduces a man, the man ends up chopping her up, she reproduces somehow,
Hmm.
and keeps continuing on from there. But he
Yeah.
plays around with that concept and comes up with new ideas, and that's what makes it fun.
Yeah, right. For example, I thought the Sake chapter was fun because it starts with her already being chopped up or minced up.
Yeah.
Um,
You know the rules.
and so it does a different thing
You know how it goes.
from there. Yeah.
Goofy as all get out, but yeah, certainly was different.
Right.
But that's the point, is that it's establishing these set rules,
Hmm.
but plays around with them each time in different ways.
Yeah.
So I think that's part of it. Yeah. So it's different from Uzumaki, but I think generally I liked it. Yeah.
That's good. I liked it. And I liked it more on my reread than I did on my first read.
Okay.
Getting to rating from 1 to 10. When I read this the first time, I rated it a 6 out of 10. I wasn't super sold on it, though I definitely I enjoyed it, but I didn't like it was definitely not as dear to me as Uzumaki, and it still is not quite there. Um,
Yeah.
but when I reread it more recently, I bumped it up to a 7 out of 10,
Oh, okay.
which I guess isn't a huge thing, but it's still I don't know. To me, a 7 out of 10 is still a pretty good score, and I liked it quite a lot.
Yeah.
In comparison, I have Uzumaki as an 8 out of 10.
Yeah.
But what about you?
Yeah, I'm with you. I gave Uzumaki an 8. Which means in my scale, great. I really enjoyed it and thought it was one of the best horrors I've had to, I guess, consume.
Nice.
Tomie, I guess similar to you, I did not like it as much at first. I didn't hate it, because I still think he's good and very creative, but I just didn't enjoy it as much. My second time reading it through, I did enjoy it more. So I guess we share in that sentiment. But I'm not gonna give it a 7. I'm gonna give it a 6, which may be harsh, but genuinely speaking, I don't find some of the horror aspects in this to be truly enjoyable. I know that's some of the things I'm feeling, or what it's trying to get me to feel is the intent, but it just means that I'm just not as into that type of a storytelling
Right.
as maybe some other people are.
That's totally fair.
Styx is still okay, and I respect it for what it established and how it basically jump started Junji Ito's career. But I do think Uzumaki is better, and part of this is I'm probably am comparing it to it. Maybe my score would be different if I hadn't read that already. This could be the same thing with Planets and Vinland Saga, where I gave Planets a lower score and Vinland Saga is a 10 out of 10.
Right. That's fair.
But I do like Tomie, or I think it's okay. And I would recommend this to anybody who is a Junji Ito fan and who wants to read some horror. I think this is something that I can recommend. Maybe I can't recommend it to everybody, like say Uzumaki, I probably would.
Mm.
But Tomie is definitely something that I could possibly recommend.
Yeah, no, and I think it's fair because, well, for one, this one was made over such a long period of time. It is not as streamlined as Uzumaki is,
Yeah.
and it's not as polished, I'd say, also maybe as Uzumaki is. Uzumaki, I think there was a very clear vision with Uzumaki from beginning to end.
Yeah.
Obviously, this one doesn't have that, but there's obviously, as we said, there's a different charm with this.
Right. I think some people would maybe even like this charm more so than Uzumaki. It just depends on the person.
Right.
For me, it just doesn't appeal in the same way. Although I certainly don't hate it, and don't think a 6 out of 10 is a terrible score. It's not. It's just it's an okay score. I think it's okay, but it does deserve the praise it gets. I think.
Absolutely. And yeah, dear listeners, let us know in the comments what you think of this manga. How would you rate it on a scale from 1 to 10? And if you've read Uzumaki, feel free to share your score on that as well, and your opinions on each of them or either of them.
Yeah. We usually do a star of the volume, but I think because of the nature of this, I don't know if we necessarily can.
Like a star character.
Yeah, there are characters that I think I definitely pointed out and said, oh, I really like this guy. I like her. Happy that she made it through.
Yeah.
But it's not really a character focused story.
No.
Aside from Tomie, who really is more of a natural disaster.
Yeah. That's a good way to describe her. Yeah. I mean, she's a disaster for herself as well. She's very self-destructive.
Yeah. Again, kind of comical in that way.
Yeah.
When you think about it.
Uh-huh.
But I don't. Do you share in that thought of not really having a star per se?
I do, because I hadn't really thought of it at all for this discussion, even though we always mention our star character at the end of each discussion, normally on the podcast.
Yeah.
But yeah, with this one, it didn't come naturally. Although I would be willing to try to mention maybe one or two without putting too much stock into it.
Okay.
My spontaneous answers would be, or maybe I would say number one, Tsukiko Izumisawa, the photographer. Like,
I think she's number one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She was great, and she was early on. So like, I guess with that in mind, there definitely was some early stuff early on for sure, or there was some good stuff early on.
Absolutely.
That said, I think a close runner-up for me would be Hiroya Kobayashi from Littlefinger.
Yeah.
I felt so much for him, man.
I did too. I felt a lot for him too, and I think he deserves an honorable mention. But I as I said earlier, Umehara, I feel like he's the GOAT.
Right.
He, loved his wife.
Yeah.
Wasn't gonna let Tomie charm him out of it, even though he was cursed in the end. But
yeah,
I felt like he was the most resilient out of any of the men in the book.
Yeah, he was strong. I guess maybe the boy at the hospital, whose name I forget right now.
Fumihito, but he didn't.
Right.
He didn't really encounter Tomie. I he's great. I love how he was in love with, I think Yukiko is her name. How he liked her for who she was.
Yeah.
But
right, I guess well, he did encounter.
I guess he did
Tomie,
encounter Tomie,
but
right,
she wasn't. She wasn't that persistent, or like she wasn't trying to seduce him as actively as in the Gathering chapter. That he was very pursued by her.
Yeah.
So that's fair. Yeah.
So I guess we did it in the end anyway.
Yes, we did. And please, listeners, if you have a star, even if it's Tomie herself, let us know who was your star of this series.
Love to hear your arguments.
Definitely. Is there anything else you'd like to bring up before we round this off?
No, I feel I'm got it all out.
Nice. Same here. Then I'll end it off with just shouting out some of our, well, the other stuff we do on the podcast, in case this is the first time you're listening to Umami Manga. Normally we cover longer series volume by volume, so we go a little bit more in depth on longer series. We have done all of Kaguya-sama Love is War that way, and there's a couple of series that we're covering currently, those being To Your Eternity, Spy Family, Free Rem Beyond Journey's End, the one we mentioned earlier, Vinland Saga, Kaiju number 8, Jujutsu Kaisen, Asadora, Oshinoko, and A Bride's Story. We've also done other one-shots like the one we did today. Obviously, we had done Uzumaki before. We've also done Planets, The God's Lie, Solanin, and Watakoi. So if anything of that sounds interesting to you, you can find it on the podcast. But I suppose with that, we are done.
Yeah. It's been spooky.
It's been a spooky Halloween. So, if you enjoy our podcast, please share it with your friends. You'll find links to our social media in the description, and you can support us by rating our show on the podcast platforms and subscribing to our channel, Umami Manga, on YouTube. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you next time when we'll talk about something else. Bye-bye!
See you later. I love you, Tomie! Bye-bye. See you later.
I was not prepared for that.
That's what I'm going for. Like, if you keep that in, kind of jump scare, like,
definitely scary.